Thanks for joining us. We are so excited to have you listen to episode 1 of the Mr. Difficult and Mrs. Demanding Keeping It Real podcast. Today, we are discussing looking for some strange.
Welcome to the Mr. Difficult and Mrs. Demanding podcast. This husband and wife show is outrageously honest and keenly witty with a view into life and marriage. We hope to provide you with gut-wrenching laughter and a touch of wisdom. Arrogance comes naturally, humility not so much, dismissive and irreverent to all, unapologetic. Until I met my wife, that is. I am Mr. Difficult.
You are lucky to have a wife and should thank the heavens to have me. I am Mrs. Demanding. I don't ask for much because I expect it all. Nothing but the best, and I don't settle for less. During today's episode, we are keeping it real. We are discussing looking for some strange. What is it? Is it the same for everyone? How do you find it? What are you willing to give up to get it? Why do you have these desires? Are you willing to be judged? Are you willing to give up everything to keep it in your life? Finally, make sure you listen to the whole show because I am ending it with some honesty. Looking for some strange. The first time I heard that, I didn't know what it meant at all. I couldn't even imagine what it could possibly mean. But thanks to Mr. Difficult, he was able to enlighten me on the term. So what does looking for some strange mean to you?
So I think it's essentially anything aside from what is considered normal in one's experience. It was very unique. There was nothing that I had ever experienced before. It was briny, it was salty, all of that. Very different. So I think that's a major example of strange.
And why did that appeal to you so much?
Because it was something that I had never tasted before. And it provided sensations like I'd never experienced.
So what made you decide to continue looking for those types of experiences in your life?
Because I realized that if you're on the straight and narrow path, then there's a lot more that's known, and there's a lot less that you will discover. And I didn't want to lead life in that manner.
So from that one oyster, you have ventured off into a relationship, a marriage with me that's completely different from your background, your family members, your peers. I mean, you have basically gone off the reservation. I guess I could say the same also, because being an African American, married to someone who's completely from a different culture and a different country, it's pretty out there. It's not something I ever would have imagined. When I was looking for something different, I wasn't necessarily calling it strange, but I wanted something completely different from anything I had ever experienced, heard. I wanted to meet someone who was more global, more open, that could teach me things and help me become a better person. Unbeknownst to myself, I didn't know that was considered strange, but I can see how that would fit into a definition such as that. So humor me and let's do a Google search as far as what looking for some strange mean, and see if the definitions actually align with what we say it is and what others think it is. And while you're looking for that, have you had any other experiences in life that is considered strange or taboo?
Yeah, I think, having interesting substances on the island of Ibiza, I think that would count.
Such as?
Well, I'm not sure we should be talking about that.
So you weren't talking of the liquid sort.
Correct.
But besides that, I mean, even when it comes to your music, your clothing, or your pursuits in life, are they all strange Or do you find that you are living a balanced life with the straight and narrow and with the looking for the thrill? You like a thrill. That's what you're saying.
So I think if it were up to me, then I would function in many ways very differently in life. But one has to abide by certain rules in society. For example, when you're in a professional setting, you can't show up sort of wearing, a Metallica T-shirt and shorts, right? It's that sort of thing.
But you have tried it.
I
met you at an employer in which you did do so.
Well, I did.
Just to rebel.
I did do that. I did do that. I did do that sometimes. But I think as you progress through your career and you want you also want people to look up to you, that sort of thing. Then it's just not. I really find actually America's a very conservative country.
Really, compared to what?
Compared to Europe, it's very, very conservative. I mean, I know that the impression is otherwise, but I think in general, America is a very conservative country.
Well, before we proceed forward, I want to know what you found from your Google search as far as looking for some strange and what it actually says.
So apparently there's a song by this guy or this person called Jesse Strange, which, judging by his other song, which says, "If whiskey was a woman," I'm thinking he's a guy. Yeah. So, so the Urban Dictionary says that it's all sort of related to sex. So an outdated term referring to having sex with a stranger, right? Similar to a hookup.
So you mean a dirty dog?
Right,
dog in a sense, not roof, but dog in a sense what a lot of women say about you men.
Yeah, so one of the usages is, lately I've passed up a couple of opportunities to get me some strange.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's usage. So
it's a male term?
So it's interesting, it's interesting. I always thought that it also referred to, anything that was away from the ordinary, but it looks like a lot of people think that it's to do with sex.
People meaning men? Is the term used by men, or do you find?
Yeah, all the entries here. Well, no, there are some. There's a woman here who's also responded. So no, it's not necessarily to do with men.
Okay. So do you find that due to society norms, it's considered strange because we have to abide by expectations from others?
I think so, yeah. I think that's what it is.
Could it be a new normal? Doing what you want?
It should be. It should be the new normal because, there's so much to be discovered. There's so much to be explored outside of your little bubble, the bubble that you grew up in, the bubble that your parents have you in, etc.
So, as husband and wife, we've been together for 15 years. From the day that we met, I still think that people are taken aback by our combination. So are we strange as a couple?
Maybe to others, because, our combination is very rare. Maybe to others we are. But, you and I know that essentially, everyone's human, right? You've got a temper, I've got a temper, we're kind to one another from time to time.
Is it that time?
I don't know. Things could pop off at any minute.
But even when we first met, you were my first real interracial relationship. So even looking at you from your skin tone, your skin texture, the color of your hair, the shape of your lips, your eyes is something completely different and foreign to me. And I was actually very perplexed and confused as far as how would that work? Because my lips are very voluptuous and overwhelming, and yours are close to non-existent. Right. It seems funny and seems very simple, but it was something that was, stuck in my mind. Like, could this actually work? And let's not even forget to talk about the fact that I couldn't even pronounce your name. So I didn't even call you anything in the beginning because your name was very exotic. And to be honest, I was looking for exotic. I wanted something extremely different, extremely rare and attractive. And I found that. But initially, it was extremely awkward. I saw both of us looking at each other. I used to stare at my lips. And I used to look at yours saying, what is this? How does it work? And is it going to work? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a factor. But I think as you get to know the person, I think you realize that behind all of this is a human being. And I know it sounds very unexciting, but the truth is, humans are pretty much all the same. Is what I've realized, right?
But let's keep it real. I have a very strong personality.
Yeah,
and it's a lot for you to take even today, probably every single day.
It is.
So is there a cost to looking for the strange and deciding to stay with the strange?
Is there a cost? That's a good question. That's what people say when they don't know the answer, by the way. So, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's a cost, really. It's
an adjustment.
It's an adjustment. And, I have several, friends, I mean, some of whom you know quite well, who are in sort of in relationships with other people that they've met along the way who are not in a similar in background. And I think everyone ultimately has to realize that you're another person, and behind the facade, right, whether it's sort of white or black or what have you, you're dealing with a set of emotions, a set of preferences, some likes and dislikes that are going to come out no matter what. I've had bloody relationships where people have held stuff in for 6 months, a year, and then they come back with a roster of issues with you. Now, with you, I don't have that good fortune, shall we say, right? It's like, hey man, you fucked this up, so I'm gonna let you know, right? That hey, I didn't like this, and you need to fix it,
and
right?
don't do it again.
And you better not do it again. And if I do it again, then there's more hell to pay. So
it's on.
Right. So I think there's that, and I think I personally appreciate that, because you end up hurting someone over the months or years or whatever, and you don't even realize in the other situation.
So you're saying you're not perfect? Because that's how you presented yourself to me when I met you.
Yeah,
or should I check your application better?
What's that term I used to say? I used to say I was easygoing, right? Now after 15 years, you know how easygoing I am.
Yes,
right? Which
Mr.
is
Difficult.
It's all about wishing that you were a different person, and you're perfect, and I think everyone has a tendency to to view themselves as perfect, especially when you're younger. As you grow older, I think you realize that you're not you're not all there, or perhaps that's too strong, but essentially your self-image, I think, it evolves over the years.
But do you think looking for some strange, and whatever the case may be, do you think it's easy to admit that, to accept that, and to actually act upon that? You're basically taking the fantasies out of your head and you're making it a reality.
Yeah, no, it's quite difficult. It is quite difficult to accept it. And I mean, that's actually one of the hardest things, to accept.
Because you actually broke up with me for about 2 minutes when you had to consider the fact
3, I think. But who's counting? Yes. No, of course, there was very strong pressure from my parents to basically not be with you, right? There was a lot of pressure, and because it was a departure from what people had done in my family for generations. So yes, it was very difficult, and but I think I was strong, and I remain strong. I mean, challenges still remain, right? But the fact is, I'm glad I didn't act on, I didn't really, go through with it, the breakup thing, because what I've realized is, your background and all of that, it actually means nothing in the end, because I have so many friends who are from the same background, and, they're married to people from the similar background, and they have the same troubles we do, if not more, right? In other different
But you're missing
a
key point. At least they can tell each other off in the same language.
That's the thing. What I've noticed is the culture, right? The culture comes with the absence of that. And that's why, things blow up like a volcano. Because there's so much pent-up fury and compromises. And
so you're saying there's even more baggage and added layers of expectations when you come from the same background.
Yes.
So
Because
are we liberating?
Yeah, absolutely. Because no, we have liberated each other in a sense.
That's true.
Right? Because, the culture I come from, very strong. Your culture is very strong too. And it's in a sense, what we've done is we've actually wiped the slate clean when we met each other. Because it's like, okay, you know what? I just don't know what to expect. Starting with, physical attributes, as you mentioned. And it goes on and on, right? It's sort of, I think it was very liberating, actually.
But you actually said I tricked you into this relationship because I didn't tell you exactly about, for example, the hair scarf. But you should have did your research. If you're checking...
No, I mean, there was no... Look, we met in the days when the internet was in its infancy, right? There was no sort of... You couldn't sort of, go to Google and say, oh, tell me if a certain person wears a headscarf at night. I mean, that just didn't exist.
But, I mean, don't you think you should perform some type of due diligence? I mean, clubbing at night, raving.
No, I think the magic of it is that, I think I was very young at the time. And
what are you, chopped liver?
Well, yeah, I'm getting there. Well, certainly fat chopped liver, but I think that would actually played it well in a favor because a lot of things are different now, and a lot of things that I didn't expect occurred, and I think most of it is actually really good, and I think that was actually very helpful because if you had sort of had this opportunity to think through how things would play out 15 years hence. I don't think that, either of us would have gone through with it. So
you just jumped off the deep end?
Yes, exactly.
How wise is that? Or do you think you should?
So, looking back, was it wise?
Can you do it any other way?
No, because the best of, research and sort of, being from the same background and all of that. And it's a total crapshoot, I think.
Isn't it with any relationship then?
Yes, so I think it's no different. I think it just seems like that to people because people rely on external characteristics to define you, right? Very frequently. They have a look at you or me and then it's sort of this whole impression,
Well, they think I got you because of sexual reasons. That's the only reason, right? I must have put some type of spell on you, some mandingo spell or something on you. And that is why you stuck around.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the factors that people think of. Very
and from your culture, I must be your mistress.
Yeah.
With your side kids.
Right. Well, as you know, that's happened once. Someone basically accused us of that, or sort of had an innocent question.
Right.
Yes. It's very sad actually. I think in a way because. I think we need to mingle more, and we need to. We need to get to know people from different, mindset, from different ways. I think actually that's what's actually wrong with the country at the moment, right? We can't listen to people with another viewpoint.
So, how long were you looking for a quote unquote strange relationship? And were you looking at all, or did it just happen to fall upon you? I mean, you were kind of experimenting anyway back in the day.
Yes,
I met you.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I had been, I had dated, people from different races and all of that. I just think, your combination is very exotic to me because generally I had not seen many people of your background in a professional setting, and sadly that remains true to this day. Right? In a professional setting, you just don't see very many people like yourself. A lot of reasons, right? A lot of history behind it, 400 years of history. But
what gave you the balls to actually even think that you could pursue something as rare as me? I mean, let's keep it real. If you don't,
that's why I was attracted to you because
being
you
attracted
just didn't, you were like one in a million. You just didn't exist.
But why did you act upon it? A lot of people are attracted to people, but that doesn't mean you necessarily act upon those animal impulses.
I think it was just, it was this moment in my life where I was sort of starting over, and I was, I think you know the story, but essentially I was flying very high, quite literally, and I had a pretty bad setback in my life, so I think I was bouncing back from it. So I was very high on confidence, and and all of that, and I knew that it was a fresh start, and I knew that life had given me a new lease, and that's why I sort of approached you.
With no plans.
With no plan. With
no
plan.
expectation. So you basically expected to hit it and quit it. You had no plans of staying around, or you didn't think that far.
I didn't. No, I really didn't think that far when I did.
What exactly were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking, hey,
let's
you've
have
got
a bit of fun.
Get to know a new person and completely different, background, and I thought it would be fascinating.
Okay, and how has that worked out for you?
I don't know about the fascinating bit, but it's been I think it was great. I think I did the right thing, and I think that it really my life was meant to play out like this, so it was good. I enjoy it, and everyone has little frustrations here and there, but I think overall it's been very good for me, because I actually know myself better because of you, and I think that's fantastic. Because I was going through life, without any self-awareness. I can say that.
I still believe you struggle very highly.
I
do. I think I'm your moral compass. This.
I do struggle, but it's a lot better than it was 15 years ago. That's what comes with having a privileged life, right?
Privileged.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very difficult. That's what you are.
Well, that too. Hence the name.
So, are you still in your strange pursuits? Or have they evolved into others?
So, yeah, I am. Not in terms of women, obviously, because otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, I would be sitting here. You probably would not be sitting.
That's true. I'd probably be out for good. But no, I do. I think it's down to, food and drink. That's what it's down to. Maybe different wines.
And what are you drinking right now?
Well, this is what is this actually? I forgot. This is Glenmorangie. It's aged in a Portuguese wine cask called Quinta Ruban.
So this is how you cope with me?
No,
you need the sauce.
No, I eat actually.
So looking back, was it worth it? Looking for strange, or did it was just a detour in life that took you in another direction?
Yeah, I mean, I was always looking for strange, and as you've said, I do look for strange even now in different dimensions. But I think it's a bit of both. I think, I wasn't necessarily looking for strange, to change my life completely, but I think it's gone in a very good direction, and I think it continues to go in a very good direction.
So, any advice for people who are seeking the exotic, the taboo, the strange? Pursue, not to pursue?
Yeah,
keep it as a fantasy, not?
No, I'd say follow your instinct. It's not wrong. I mean, in spite of all the, things we have to distract us nowadays, I think that there is something to be said for that human instinct.
But we also keep in mind with everything, there's a risk. Not everything is simple. The grass is not always green on the other side.
Well, the truth is, I mean, it sounds slightly fatalistic, but the grass is actually never green, right? It's sort of it's all about seasons, right? There's always going to be a good season and a bad season, and so on and so on. That's just anything in life is like that, and I think I mean, you're going to have to grow. You're going to have to be very different. You're going to have to be a sort of a maverick and an explorer, but yeah, definitely that's the way to go. That's the more exciting. It's a fuller life, I think.
So before I took you off the market, were there any other flavors that you had a taste for that you didn't get an opportunity to try, as far as women?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't interested in whatever I didn't try, because I would have gone after it.
Well, they were interested in you.
Yeah, definitely.
Because one in particular, you opened the car door for her once, and she lost her bloody mind.
Yeah, because culturally, I think for her it was...
Culturally, or just her own self-worth, self-esteem?
Could be, it's interesting. Could be a combination of the two, right? Could be a combination of the two. It could be that it was a combination of the self-esteem.
And you guys weren't even on a date.
No,
you were just going to a team meeting.
That's right. We were going to
some
sort
carpooling.
Of training, actually.
Right.
Training session.
And you were carpooling.
Yeah.
And she just fell in love with one car door opening.
Yeah.
You just have that effect on everyone, except for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not looking for any effects anymore. So...
So anything else to add? Anything else you want to share?
No, I'd say, just pursue your, your inclination. It's worth it. I think it's worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Now look, my husband is only skin deep, so I am going to close the show. One person's strange is another person's normal. Humans are very amusing because depending on a person's character and their lifestyle, one person will live their life out in the open, enjoying their strange, and another person will hide it in the closet and deeply indulge in it. Either way, what it boils down to is preferences and raw, innate desire. What are you willing to do, and what are you willing to give up to obtain an opportunity to taste, smell, touch, and see your strange? Once you have it, what if you cannot live without it? Its effect can be profound and life-altering. In closing, whatever you desire, pursue it with your utmost integrity. Try to be as forthright as possible and make self-honoring decisions. Life is too short to be sad, mad, or missing out. So until the next time, do you and be you. In our upcoming episode, we are discussing the Peter Pan syndrome. So please join us next week for the Mr. Difficult and Mrs. Demanding Keeping It Real podcast show.
Please subscribe to our show and tune in next week for another episode of Mr. Difficult and Mrs. Demanding Keeping It Real podcast. If you'd like to ask us a general question, provide your comments, or make a topic suggestion, then email us at difficultanddemanding@gmail.com. Please follow the show on Twitter at Mr. D and Mrs. D, one word.